Good afternoon. My name is Paul Rowley. I am the Vice President of Water Operations for Golden State Water Company. I want to thank you for joining this virtual public meeting today. The primary purpose of this meeting is to provide information on our Schedule 14.1, which is a staged mandatory conservation and rationing framework. This framework will allow us to implement water conservation and rationing protocols to address the statewide water supply challenges as a result of this historic drought. In a moment, we will begin a PowerPoint presentation to provide information on our advice letter filing with the California Public Utilities Commission, or CPUC, to implement Schedule 14.1. During the presentation, we will also provide information on statewide drought conditions, local drought conditions, the future of water use requirements in California, and various water conservation programs available to our customers. Today's public meeting is for customers served by Golden State Water in the following water systems: Santa Maria, Lake Marie, Nipomo, Orchid, Sisquoc, Tanglewood, Cypress Ridge, Los Osos, and Edna Road water systems. I'd like to start by letting everybody know that this virtual meeting is being recorded and will be posted to our website in the next few days to ensure that the information regarding our Schedule 14.1 filing is available to those that could not attend this live presentation. Please know that as an attendee, your name or face will not be shown on the screen at any point during this virtual meeting. Additionally, you can listen in English or Spanish. You can access the Spanish language function by clicking the translation button at the bottom of your screen. There is also a transcription feature located at the bottom of your screen that will transcribe the audio feed presented in the meeting today. At the end of the meeting, we will provide a number for you to call to answer any questions that you may have or to take your comments regarding this Schedule 14.1 filing. This is a dedicated phone line that will have members of our customer service team standing by to field your calls after the meeting. All questions and comments will be noted and shared with the California Public Utilities Commission. A considerable amount of information will be provided today, but before we begin, let me introduce the Golden State Water Company team members who will be presenting information during today's meeting. I am joined today by Mark Zimmer, the General Manager of Golden State's Coastal District, Dr. Toby Moore, our Water Resources Manager and Chief Hydrogeologist, and Edwin De Leon, a Water Use Efficiency Manager. This presentation will take approximately 35 to 40 minutes. Here's the agenda for this meeting today. As I mentioned, this meeting will provide information on our Schedule 14.1 filing with the California Public Utilities Commission to implement a staged mandatory conservation and rationing framework to address the statewide water supply challenges as a result of this historic drought. You should have received an email and/or a direct mailer with information on the filing and this meeting. The information for this meeting was also posted in 2 regional newspapers. I will present information on the statewide drought, then walk through the details of Schedule 14.1, including each of the 6 stages. Mark Zimmer will discuss local drought conditions and the conservation stages that will be implemented in the Coastal District service area. Dr. Toby Moore will provide information on the next steps in the long-term outlook, and Edwin De Leon will provide information on various water conservation programs and resources. I will wrap up the meeting with a review of the frequently asked questions. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. This historic drought is not just limited to California. As indicated on this map, the Western U.S. is experiencing drought conditions with 94% of the Western states in moderate drought conditions, 83% in severe drought conditions, and 60% in extreme drought conditions. When we look at California alone, 95% of the state is experiencing severe drought conditions, with 50 of the 58 counties falling under Governor Newsom's drought emergency declaration. As a result of these conditions, on July 8th, Governor Newsom asked all Californians to voluntarily reduce their water usage by 15%, using 2020 as the baseline year or reference point. As you know, we measure water use in cubic feet, and 1 CCF, or 1 billing unit, on your water bill is 100 cubic feet, which is 748 gallons of water. In applying Governor Newsom's voluntary conservation of 15%, if your September 2020 usage was 10 units, or 7,480 gallons, 15% reduction would be approximately 1.5 units, or 1,122 gallons of water. The target usage for September 2021 would be 8.5 units or 6,359 gallons. Next slide. For those of us that have lived in California for some time, we have experienced droughts before. As with previous droughts, this drought is a result of below normal rainfall and snowfall for the past 2 years. Compounding the situation is that we experienced a warmer than normal spring, which negatively impacted the amount of snow runoff. As a result, many of the state's critical water storage reservoirs did not fill as expected. Due to California's reliance on local rainfall and statewide snowfall, California has an extensive network of monitoring stations across the entire state to measure precipitation in real time. This network has been in place for decades, and as a result, a tremendous amount of data and resources are available to the general public. For example, this graphic presents the snow water content across the northern, central, and southern regions of the Sierra Nevada mountain range. Snow water content, often called snow water equivalent, converts inches of snow into inches of water. Due to the obvious differences between snow and liquid water, 12 inches of snow is not the same as 12 inches of liquid water. I realize that this is a very busy graphic, but it tells a very important water story. As you can see, the timeline of this graphic covers the wettest part of the year in California, which is typically October to July. The light blue shaded area depicts the long-term annual average amount of precipitation that is received. The green trend line represents the wettest year on record, which was the fall-winter of 1982-1983. The driest year on record was very recent, with the 2014-15 fall-winter being the driest, which is depicted by the red line. As we continue to look at this graphic, you'll notice that there were wet or above average years in 2016 and 17, and again in 2018 and 19. But for the past few years, you can see that we have had below average years. The current drought is a culmination of below average or dry years beginning in 2014 and exacerbated by below average or dry years in 2017 and 18, 2019 and 20, and now 2020 and 2021, which is depicted by the blue line. Next slide, please. As previously mentioned, due to a warmer than normal spring, the state's key water storage reservoirs did not fill. This particular graphic provides storage information for the state's key water storage reservoirs. Slide. To highlight a few reservoirs, you can see that Northern California reservoirs are extremely low, with the state's 3 largest reservoirs, the Trinity, Shasta, and Orville reservoirs, being less than 50% of the historical average for this time of year. Slide. As a result of the drought conditions, many northern and coastal communities have already implemented mandatory water reduction and conservation measures. One critical important point to note is that the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, also known as NOAA, is predicting a 70% chance of a La Nina condition this winter, which means that most of California may experience below normal precipitation if that prediction comes true. Even if we have a normal or above average winter rainfall and snowfall, due to the low levels of the state's water reservoirs, the expectation that much of the winter runoff may be held back to refill the reservoirs after several years of drought. Next slide, please. I will now present the details of Schedule 14.1 and the stage mandatory water conservation and rationing framework. This discussion will include the details on each of the 6 stages. For Golden State Water to impose stage mandatory conservation and rationing requirements, we must first seek CPUC approval. As part of this approval process, we are required to have this public meeting to address your questions and solicit your input on this framework. We submitted our framework to the CPUC on August 20th and by filing an advice letter with the California Public Utilities Commission. If approved, the program will go into effect September 19th, 2021. As mentioned earlier, we will provide a dedicated phone number for you to call at the end of the meeting to answer your questions and to take your comments. This information will be collected and provided to the CPUC as part of the approval process. Slide, please. Schedule 14.1 consists of 6 conservation stages, with the first stage being voluntary and stages 2 through 6 imposing mandatory conservation measures, primarily in the form of monthly water use reductions coupled with a surcharge for water used above the mandatory reduction. The reduction amount in stages 2 through 6 will be indexed or baselined off 2020 water usage, which aligns with Governor Newsom's 15% voluntary conservation program's baseline year. The mandatory water usage reduction increases with each stage, and the surcharge for exceeding the mandatory reduction increases as well. Just a few more high-level points to make before I dive into the details of each stage. The allocation will be on a month-by-month basis, not on an annual usage basis. We will look at the usage for the specific month in 2020, and then determine the allocation and apply the reduction amount specific to the stage for the current month. For those new customers that may not have 2020 usage data, we will use the average usage figure for a similar customer classification. The current and future allocation will be printed on your bill. Schedule 14.1 applies to all customers, including non-residential and commercial customers. One important item to emphasize is that regardless of the stage and the reduction amount, customers will not be asked to reduce their monthly usage below 8 units or 8 CCF, which is 5,984 gallons of water. Slide, please. Stage 1 is a water alert stage. Customers are asked to voluntarily conserve. We are requesting that our customers voluntarily reduce the monthly water usage by 15% from the 2020 monthly usage. The stage also aligns with Governor Newsom's request for all Californians to reduce their monthly water usage by 15%. In stage 1, we are also encouraging our customers to limit their outdoor watering to 3 days per week and only water between the hours of 7 p.m. and 8 a.m. Stage 1 does not impose any usage surcharges. Stage 2 is the stage in which the drought emergency surcharge is implemented. This stage is implemented when a moderate water supply shortage exists, and we are seeking a mandatory 20% reduction in monthly water usage, with 2020 being the baseline water usage year. In stage 2, outdoor watering is restricted to 2 days per week, with watering times between 7 p.m. and 8 a.m. At this point, I would like to provide an example of the monthly allocation and how the drought emergency surcharge is applied. If your 2020 usage for September was 20 units or 20 CCF, the stage 2 water use reduction would be 20% of your 2020 usage, which is 4 units. This results in a monthly allocation of 16 units or 16 CCF. If your monthly usage for September 2021 exceeds 16 units, the drought emergency surcharge is applied to every unit above your allocation of 16 units. The drought emergency surcharge is added to the regular commodity rate for those units used above the baseline application of 16. As presented on this slide, the drought emergency surcharge for stage 2 is $2.50 per unit. Again, this surcharge is added to the regular commodity rate for all usage above the allocation. Another important point to emphasize is that the money collected for exceeding the allocation, or the surcharges, is used to offset water supply costs and conservation program costs. As mentioned previously, regardless of the stage, customers will not be asked to reduce their monthly usage below 8 units or 8 CCF, which is 5,984 gallons of water. Slide, please. Stage 3 is implemented when a severe water supply shortage exists, and we are seeking a mandatory 30% reduction in monthly water usage, with 2020 being the baseline water use year. In stage 3, outdoor watering is restricted to 2 days per week, with watering times between 7 p.m. and 8 a.m. As presented on this slide, the drought emergency surcharge for stage 3 is $5 a unit. Again, the surcharge is added to the regular commodity rate for all usage above the allocation. Next slide, please. Stage 4 is implemented when a critical water supply shortage exists, and we are seeking a mandatory 40% reduction in monthly water usage, with 2020 being the baseline water use year. In stage 4, outdoor watering is restricted to 2 days per week, with watering times between 7 p.m. and 8 a.m. As presented on this slide, the drought emergency surcharge for stage 4 is $7.50 per unit. Again, the surcharge is added to the regular commodity rate for all usage above the allocation. Stage 5 is implemented when a water shortage crisis exists, and we are seeking a mandatory 50% reduction in monthly water usage, with 2020 being the baseline water use year. In stage 5, outdoor watering is restricted to 2 days per week, with watering times between 7 p.m. and 8 a.m. As presented on this slide, the drought emergency surcharge for stage 5 is $10 a unit. Again, this surcharge is added to the regular commodity rate for all usage above the allocation. And finally, in stage 6, which is the final stage, is implemented when an emergency water supply shortage exists, and we are seeking a mandatory 55% reduction in monthly water usage, with 2020 being the baseline year. In Stage 6, outdoor watering is restricted to 2 days per week, with watering times between 7 p.m. and 8 a.m. As presented on this slide, the drought emergency surcharge for Stage 6 is $15 a unit. Again, the surcharge is added to the regular commodity rate for all usage above the allocation. One very important point to note is that to advance to the next stage, we must file a Tier 2 advice letter with the CPUC and provide adequate notice to you. We must also demonstrate to the CPUC the need to move to the next stage. This information could include water supply information from a regional wholesale water agency, local or regional groundwater levels, and ongoing drought conditions, just to name a few. And to emphasize once again, surcharges collected for exceeding an allocation are used to offset water supply costs and conservation program costs. And regardless of the stage, customers will not be asked to reduce their monthly usage below 8 units or 8 CCF, which is 5,984 gallons of water. Next slide, please. For stages 2 through 6, there is an allocation appeal process that can be utilized if you feel that your monthly allocation is too low. You can obtain this form from www.gswater.com/appeal or by calling our customer service center at 1-800-999-4033. Please know that we will review the reason for the appeal and analyze your appeal in the context of efficient water usage, water usage across a similar customer base, and consider characteristics such as, but not limited to, meter size, lot size, house size, just to name a few. Please know that given the drought conditions across the state, we'll be looking very closely at each allocation appeal to ensure that they are justified and reasonable. A few other items to mention on the provision schedule 14.1 that allow us to address those conditions are considered water use abuse. For example, a flow restrictor can be installed to address a customer's failure to comply with the monthly allocation and or continues to use water for non-essential purposes, such as excessive irrigation runoff or using the water for washing down hardscape. The fees associated with installing flow restrictors are presented on this slide. At this time, I will turn over the presentation to Mark Zimmer, the General Manager of our Coastal District. Mark will provide information on the local drought conditions.
Thank you, Paul. I will be sharing information regarding local drought conditions and water supply for the Santa Maria and Los Osos service area, collectively referred to as the Coastal District. Next slide, please. These next few slides will be focused on the 8 water systems in the Coastal District. These 8 systems are in northern Santa Barbara County and middle to southern portion of San Luis Obispo County. The 4 water systems in Santa Barbara County are Sisquoc, Lake Marie, Tanglewood, and Orchid. The 4 water systems in San Luis Obispo County are Napomo, Cypress Ridge, Los Osos, and Edna. Water supply for all 8 water systems predominantly rely on local groundwater basins to meet water supply demand for each system. There are many beneficial users of groundwater throughout the basin areas. As a result, groundwater conditions change over time and basins are subject to reduction in storage. In addition, changes in water quality. Sustainable management of groundwater requires continuous monitoring and hydrological assessment of basins. Golden State Water Company and its professional colleagues work collaboratively with other beneficial users to manage groundwater resources. Next slide, please. Golden State Water Company and Santa Barbara and San Luis Obispo counties are included in Governor Newsom's emergency drought proclamation to reduce water usage by 15% compared to 2020 usage. Due to local groundwater conditions, mandatory restrictions have remained in place for some systems in the Coastal District since 2015. These systems will remain in Stage 2, and all other systems will be in Stage 1 of this Schedule 14.1. The next few slides will provide more detail on water supply conditions and specific stages for each water system. First, looking at local supply for the Edna Road system. Golden State Water takes water from Edna Valley portion of the San Luis Obispo Valley groundwater basin to serve its Edna Road customers. This picture outlines the basin and illustrates hydrographs from wells throughout the basin. Water well hydrographs measure water depth in the well over time. Beneficial users share and study graphs to help understand and manage resources. As you can see in the lower half of the picture, several wells in the Edna Valley portion of the basin show significant lowering of water levels. This lowering of water levels in the Edna area of the basin warrants stage 2 mandatory restrictions remain in effect for the Edna Rose system. Next, looking at local water supply for Nipomo Mesa area. Similar to Edna Valley area of the San Luis Obispo Valley Basin, the Nipomo Mesa management area of the Santa Maria Valley Basin measures water level in wells to determine the health of the basin. This area of the Santa Maria Valley groundwater basin is managed by beneficial users and their technical representatives to evaluate basic conditions for the Nipomo Mesa area. The collective evaluation of 8 selected wells throughout the management area are summarized into a key well index to include 2 significant thresholds: potentially severe water shortage condition and severe water shortage condition. As you can see, the 2020 Key Well Index indicates the Nipomo Mesa area is in severe water shortage condition for the 6th straight year. The fact Nipomo Mesa area continues to be in severe water shortage condition warrants stage 2 mandatory restrictions remain in effect for the Nipomo and Cypress Ridge water systems. Based on local conditions, the Sisquoc, Lake Marie, Orcutt, Tanglewood, and Los Osos systems will be in stage 1 of Schedule 14.1, which is described as water alert. The voluntary conservation target for each system is 15% from 2020 usage. All customers are encouraged to limit outdoor irrigation to 3 days per week. Addresses ending in odd numbers can water on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Addresses ending in even numbers can water on Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. In addition, all outdoor watering must occur between 7 p.m. and 8 a.m. Based on local conditions, the Nipomo, Cypress Ridge, and Edna Rose system will be in stage 2 of Schedule 14.1, which is described as moderate shortage with 20% reduction compared to the same month in 2020. Each customer will be provided a monthly allocation based on 20% reduction from 2020 usage. A $2.50 surcharge per CCF will be added to the existing commodity rate for usage over the allocation. In addition, all customers must limit outdoor irrigation to 2 days per week. Addresses ending in odd numbers can water on Tuesday and Saturday. Addresses ending in even numbers can water on Wednesday and Sunday. In addition, all watering must occur between 7 p.m. and 8 a.m. This concludes the local condition portion of the presentation. I will now turn it over to Dr. Toby Moore to present next steps and long-term outlook. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. I'd like to spend the next few minutes to review the next steps and the state's long-term outlook. Next slide, please. What are the anticipated next steps? Any implementation of our Schedule 14.1 to move to another stage, such as moving from stage 1 to stage 2 or stage 2 to a higher stage, will include direct notification to our customers along with a filing with the California Public Utilities Commission. So please be assured that you will be notified of any such changes. As Mr. Rowley and Mr. Zimmer have noted, California and the West Coast are experiencing very dry conditions for a second year in a row. In the short term, the state of California could issue mandatory water use targets similar to those that were issued in the 2014 drought should dry conditions persist. In 2018, in response to the drought, the California legislature passed 2 bills, Senate Bill 606 and Assembly Bill 1668, which established a package known as the Conservation Way of Life. These bills set both indoor and outdoor water use targets. For indoor, the targets have been set at 55 gallons per person per day from now on until the year 2025, at which time the standard drops to 52.5 gallons per person per day. And then in 2030, that target drops one more time to 50 gallons per day. Please be aware, though, that the legislature is looking at a more restrictive set of targets and a more aggressive timeline as part of some legislation currently being discussed. Next slide, please. In the long term, water use efficiency and water supply resiliency will be the focus in California. Urban water use is much of that focus. And as I mentioned, will include both indoor and outdoor use targets. I just reviewed the indoor targets as part of the legislative package. In addition, outdoor standards are currently being developed as part of that legislation and will be based on climate, the amount of hardscape, the amount of irrigatable and potentially irrigatable land within a water system. Additional standards are expected going forward as drier conditions continue, and we will look at how water use is impacted by climate, by population growth and development in setting those standards as we go forward. I'd like to now pass the presentation over to Mr. Edwin DeLeon, our Water Use Efficiency Manager. Edwin?
Thank you, Dr. Moore. You've heard a lot of information on Golden State Water Company's Schedule 14.1, the drought, local drought conditions, and the need to conserve. The goals of the Water Use Efficiency Department are to better educate customers on water conservation, show how water can be used more efficiently, and to help customers reduce their water footprint. The United States EPA defines water efficiency as the smart use of water resources through water-saving technologies and simple ways we can all take around the house to save water. Using water efficiently will help ensure reliable water supplies today and for future generations. Next slide, please. Golden State Water customers did an outstanding job reducing water use during the last drought, and most have continued those practices and have made conservation a way of life. We are all in this together and must work together to help protect valuable local and state water supplies. One of the biggest opportunities to save water is to reduce the amount of water used for outdoor watering. Next slide, please. State law prohibits the following actions that waste potable water: hosing off sidewalks, driveways, and other hardscapes. We recommend using a broom or an electric blower. Washing a motor vehicle with a hose, unless the hose is properly fitted with a shutoff nozzle. We recommend a positive shutoff nozzle that shuts off the flow of water when the handle is released. Operating a fountain or decorative water feature, unless the water is part of a recirculating system. Watering outdoor landscapes in a manner that causes excess runoff or within 48 hours following measurable precipitation. Irrigating ornamental turf on public streets and medians with potable water. Next slide, please. This slide covers available programs and conservation rebates for Golden State Water Company's residential customers. With this presentation covering a number of customer service areas, please check rebate availability and requirements on our gswater.com website. Golden State Water provides free water audits and offers rebates and programs to help customers improve their water efficiency. If you take advantage of our free water audit program, a water professional will review your historical water usage, look at your indoor and outdoor water use, look for possible leaks, and will generate a report with recommendations and possible opportunities to improve your water efficiency. Available rebates may include premium high-efficiency toilets, high-efficiency clothes washers, weather-based irrigation controllers, efficient sprinkler nozzles, and rain barrels. Golden State Water continues to provide our residential customers with up to 2 free indoor water conservation kits that include an adjustable 1.5 gallon per minute high efficiency shower head, a 1.5 gallon minute kitchen aerator, 2 1 gallon per minute bathroom aerators, toilet leak dye tablets, and instructions. Please log on to the gswater.com website for instructions on how to request these free conservation kits. Next slide, please. Golden State Water has and will continue to update customers regarding local drought conditions, voluntary conservation, and ways customers can reduce their water footprint. To learn more about the drought and conservation opportunities, customers are encouraged to visit us online, email, call, or follow Golden State Water on social media. Thank you. I send it back to you, Mr. Rowley.
Thank you, Edwin. As this presentation comes to a close, I would like to revisit a few key points of information. Again, we will be implementing stage 1 in the Sisquoc, Lake Marie, Orchid, Tanglewood, and Los Osos systems, which is the water alert stage with voluntary conservation. The voluntary target for each system is 15% from 2020 monthly usage. There are no drought emergency surcharges in stage 1, and we're encouraging that you limit your outdoor irrigation to 3 days per week and water between 7 p.m. and 8 a.m. For the customers in the Napomo, Cypress Ridge, and Edna Road systems, we will remain at the stage 2 level, which has been in effect since 2015. Stage 2 is described as a moderate water supply shortage with a 20% mandatory reduction in monthly water usage compared to the same month in 2020. Each customer will be provided with a monthly allocation based upon a 20% reduction from 2020 usage. A $2.50 surcharge per CCF will be added to the existing commodity rate for usage over the allocation. In addition, all customers must limit the outdoor irrigation to 2 days per week, and all outdoor watering must occur between 7 p.m. and 8 a.m. I'll now review a few frequently asked questions. First question is, how will I be notified of any stage adjustment or changes? As Dr. Moore had informed you all, we are required to file a Tier 2 advice letter for the PUC to move to the next stage. You'll be notified as part of this process. How can I find out what my allocation is? Again, this only applies through stages 2 through 6. In those stages that have a monthly allocation, the allocation of the current month and the next month will be on your water bill. How can I appeal for a larger allocation? You can obtain the appeal form on our website at www.gswater.com/appeal or call our 24-hour customer service center at 1-800-999-4033. Where does the money collected from the fines go, the surcharges? Money collected from the drought emergency surcharge is applied to water supply costs and to offset conservation program costs. And finally, how can I report water wasters in my community? If water wasting is observed within our service area, you can email us at www.gswater.com/report-water-waste. Or again, call our customer service center at 1-800-999-4033. As I mentioned at the beginning of this meeting, we have established a dedicated phone line in which you can call to ask questions or provide comments. Our customer service representatives will provide more information and take your comments regarding our Schedule 14.1 filing with the California Public Utilities Commission. This information will be provided to the CPUC. The number is 877-288-8816. Again, 877-288-8816. This line will be open until 5 p.m. this evening. If you should have comments or questions after this line has closed, please call our regular customer service line at 1-800-999-4033. On behalf of the Golden State Water Company and our 500+ employees that are dedicated to providing you with a high-quality water and reliable service 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, I want to thank you for taking the time to attend this very important meeting. I want to encourage you to conserve our most precious resource, water, and encourage you to provide your input to this very important process. Thank you again and enjoy the rest of your afternoon.